Four back. And still no two, right?
All right, I'm good. I'm good. All righty. There we go. That's better. Yeah. Got me some slack. I kept having to. Where is.
this first day of November, it is finally time to crown our first champions in the American Athletic Conference. It's the men's and women's cross-country championships live from Memphis, Tennessee, here at Shelby Farms Park. Take a look at the course of the 8K men's race that'll get underway 10 o'clock Central Time. And, of course, the women will follow 50 minutes later at 10:50. All of the live coverage of both races, the 8 and 6K, right here on the American Digital Network. Lincoln Rose welcoming you in here on ADN. Jeff Brightwell will join us a little bit later on in the broadcast as well along the side of the race. But great to have you with us this morning, as we'll have both men's and women's coverage. Of course, the men will have a new individual champion this year. But the dominance, the elephant in the room, or here at the course today, of course, is Tulsa. They've won it each and every year as a team on the men's side. Will we have somebody upset the Golden Hurricane for the gold before it's all said and done? Again, we have your live coverage wire to wire here on ADN. Runners completing the warm-ups. We will have start soon enough, just around the turn.
I'm Kate Leahy, and this is my story. I love that TU is part of Tulsa, and that we're not stuck on campus. I'm in all sorts of organizations, and I've studied abroad, twice. At TU, I'm involved in whatever I want to be. I've learned that it's okay to change paths, because my life is an amazing book, and I'm still writing it, chapter by chapter. And that's my story, so far.
Take a look at the University of Memphis. You'll see a diverse and inclusive campus, a focus on innovation, a culture not just about education, but action. Then look closer. You'll see that the University of Memphis has one of the nation's top internship programs, where you get real-world experience with global companies and leading research hospitals. Because an internship should be the catalyst into a lifetime of career highlights. See yourself exploring, creating, doing at the University of Memphis.
At SMU, I found professors who care about my success.
And the space to take risks.
Make mistakes and grow quickly.
These experiences are helping me chart my own course.
Dallas's can-do culture and SMU support bring out the best in me.
We are creatives, innovators,
disruptors, builders,
and problem solvers shaping the future.
If we think it, it gets done.
That's the enterprising spirit of SMU.
Come reimagine the world with us.
No matter where Tulanians go or what we're doing, we're making an impact. Over 160,000 Tulanians making a difference at home and around the world.
When we say charge on, we commit to do extraordinary things, to put in the work, to be smarter and stronger, to let them know we're coming. Charge on! Charge on!
Discovery. It can come from any direction, in places new and familiar, but often starts from within.
Changes are underway.
It is 40 and sunny this morning in Memphis, Tennessee at Shelby Farms Park. Lincoln Rose with you here on the American Digital Network. And for the first time today, a chance to check in with Jeff Brightwell on the course.
Thank you very much, Lincoln. You're right. It's a little chilly out here this morning, and it's warmed up. If you're in the sun at Shelby Farms on this course, it's going to be pretty pleasant. If you catch a little of the shade, if you're a spectator, it is going to be a little chilly. Frost this morning for the first time this year in Memphis, Tennessee, but most of that has burned off. Beautiful place out here, 4,500-acre park. A lot of these teams, several of them ran here about a month ago in a race, so they're familiar with the course. But a lot of rain has come through Memphis over the last week. In fact, the last 24 hours, it finally stopped raining in Memphis yesterday morning. I was fortunate or unfortunate enough to run the course yesterday, and there's some spots on here in the thicket around mile 2 where it gets a little sloppy, but for the majority of the course, it's held up fairly well.
Yeah, Jeff, it's all about keeping it in perspective. Of course, last year we were in New Orleans where conditions were sloppy at best because of a downpour of rain and mud. We have really run our athletes here, both the men and the women, through the gauntlet of different conditions in recent years. I think they'll welcome what they have ahead of them here in Memphis. So again, start time coming up soon enough, about 4 minutes away from getting things underway. The men with the 8K first. A reminder, if you're tuning in for the women specifically, that will be at 10:50 local time. That's Central Time here in Memphis. As you see some representatives from various teams, all the team tents off in the distance. As regardless of temperature, it is always tank top and shorts weather for cross country. Another look at the 8K. Of course, women will be running a similar version for 6 kilometers. Men to start and finish close to one another. Several laps around this scenic course here at Shelby Farms Park. Look forward to crowning a new individual champion this year. The question is, can anybody overtake Tulsa? Not only has Tulsa won each and every one of the Americans' men's races, they've now won 8 straight conference championships dating back to their prior membership in Conference USA. In fact, they've won 9 titles in the last 10 years as a group. What a run it's been for Steve Goley and his 2 decades at the helm coaching this Golden Hurricane group after coming over from Baylor. Of course, Scott Beatty last year finished number 2. He is the top returning finisher. I expect good showing from him. Isaac Akers for Tulsa was last year's freshman of the year. But certainly look forward to the sun remaining out. That will be the good news for the runners, as Jeff gave you a pro tip. If you plan to be on site for either race, make sure you step out of the shadows of the shade, and you should enjoy a little bit more pleasant viewing conditions for this one. But great to have you with us here on the American Digital Network. These are the first champions to be crowned in the American this year. Each and every year, it is cross country that gets us started before we pass the baton over to soccer and volleyball for their fall sports championships, of course, then followed by football as well. Everybody at the starting line. Of course, 10 schools competing on the men's side with USF, Temple, Tulane, Tulsa, Wichita State, Cincinnati, UConn, ECU, Houston, and Memphis. And there you see again, Golden Hurricane. They are looking to make that 6-time defending American champions. They've won it every year that the American has existed. A look there at Cincinnati as well as the Cougars of Houston. Cincinnati with the goal of finishing among the top 5 teams, led by, of course, Aaron Benefield, now a senior, as he would like to capture that individual title. They're hoping to squeeze their top 5 inside the top 40 today for a strong showing as our runners come together. We are underway in Memphis for the 2019 Men's Cross Country Championships here in, again, Shelby Farms Park. And they will have a restart. We'll reset the clock as a warm-up essentially for our competitors. And we'll be hovering around 40, 41 degrees this morning throughout the men's race. Unlike last year, though, no precipitation to contend with. Minimal mud. course, last year, the ultimate destination in Wisconsin, blanketed in snow. There's never an excuse for these men and women not to get up early and go for a run, regardless of what the meteorologist may warn you about the next morning's conditions being. See some of the women getting ready for their race in about 50 minutes. See a group of Pirates, of course, not hiding the fact they're looking for that top overall finish, trying to knock off Tulsa. A variety of young runners stepping up for ECU this year in Josie Weaver's group in Coach Weaver's 4th season. Josh Spare has really been a highlight for ECU and improving his times this year. A talented junior. But for ECU, talk about a group of parity. They've had 3 different #1 runners on both the men's and women's side this year. Who will emerge as the leader of that group here today? And we are underway with the 2019 Men's Cross Country Championship here in Memphis at Shelby Farms Park. I know Memphis was excited as a university to host this championship. Something they'll have a chance to do once every 10 or so years.
Go, Memphis. Good shot. Nice relax, Rob.
See some of our women athletes, including from the defending champs of Wichita State. Another reminder of what the course will look like today. Right now, the first mile underway. We'll have a couple of scenic turns. And right before the final stretch, again, following the contour of the lake. Well, we talk about Tulsa. 8 straight conference titles dating back to their time in Conference USA, and every title here in the American. You talk to head coach Steve Gully, and been really proud that they continue to put in the work, continue to live up the high expectations. We mentioned Scott Beatty is your top returning on the men's side, finished 2nd last year. They would go on to the Division I Cross Country Championships in Madison. Of course, Wichita State won on the women's side. On the men's side, looking for a top 3 finish today, as Ben Flowers has really come into his own this year. Won that JK Gold Classic. Teammate Zach Penrod, a multi-time American track champion. Also helped leading the group. Now in his senior campaign. As we have cameras spread throughout the course. And we'll resume coverage of our athletes here in just a moment. You'll see this look a few times today in the men's race. The Owls of Temple also looking to make a push for a top finish, if not among the top couple. Last year they finished #2. Ultimately would go on to finish 6th in the regional for Coach James Snyder. Temple's really benefited this year from Harry Powell, a graduate student stepping into the role they wanted him to be in. Well, David Westcott, another graduate, a newcomer, here for his 1 year, able to step in right away. And it's a Temple team that they continue to make great strides. One day to the next, seeing constant improvement. That's what you love to see as the pack makes its way through. Minimal separation here early on in Memphis.
You got it, guys.
Final look there at Ian Valdez for Tulane. Tulane boasted individual champion last year. And as you see where they just came around that bend along the pond, that'll be the look near the finish as well at the end of this race. But first, a couple more laps. Aaron Benefield, no surprise, the senior out in front. Again, the Bearcats hoping to have all 5 of their runners in the top 40 for a strong showing today. All this for Coach Sam Burrows in his 7th year at the helm of Cincinnati. Benefield looking to become the 6th individual cross-country champ in Bearcats history. Last one they had Eric Finan back when they were in the Big East in 2011. A lot of familiar faces from the outdoor and indoor championships. Of course, you see Wichita State, they got to host the outdoor track championships last spring. We were in Birmingham at the Crossplex once again last winter for the indoor championships. But when it comes to our distance runners, a lot of them triple dipping and racking up the honors here in the American. See one of the muddier patches that Jeff Brightwell was talking about. But overall conditions good here in Memphis on a sunny morning. A little over 7 minutes in here in the men's race.
Who's his back?
Aaron Benefield still with his own personal camera crew. And no surprise, as a group, Tulsa and Temple early on putting up the best scores here. And of course, Benefield still leading the pack individually on behalf of the Bearcats. Benefield, who broke Eric Finen's 10K record last year at those Penn relays. Mentioned saw him in Birmingham as well. He holds the indoor 5K record for Cincinnati as well. Did that at the Music City Invitational over in Nashville here in Tennessee. And it is remarkable right now the distance he has put between himself and the rest. But certainly the team title up for grabs as well, with some familiar names with the Golden Hurricane as well as the Owls. And Benefield with no one else to measure himself against, his own motivator. As he has enjoyed that separation
good. Don't worry about it.
from almost the beginning.
And that's where Benefield wants to be, though, out front with a course in the condition that it's been in. A few weeks ago, they had the Rhodes Invitational. Several of the teams came over to Memphis to run this course. Much better conditions, a lot better weather in that one. The course a lot firmer, but today, as we were talking about, I think it's going to pay to be out ahead in the pack in this race.
Yeah, Jeff, thank you very much again. Jeff Brightwell right along the course. As the senior Bearcat living up to expectations. And you see the masses to follow. You will see a lot of
No, you're good.
bids for Tulsa as well as Temple. For ECU, you just saw Joshua Spare come through, leading the rest of this pack. And Spare, a young man that Coach Weaver at ECU had a lot of praise for. Tulsa and Temple right now still with the most promising scores for the team title.
Come on, Park, keep fighting. Come on, Miz, come on. Get there. Come on, Park, come on, come on.
That's your best look right now, Aaron, and the rest of the pack behind him.
Come on, keep fighting, keep fighting. Come on.
You see all those Tulsa runners together. 4 of them grouped at the front of the pack. Make it all 5.
Good job, Memphis. Good job, Peyton.
See Aaron continuing to push himself. 14 and a half minutes in. Some of his teammates. Tony Banos, Ryan Gunther. A lot of praise for Banos as well from Coach Burrows. One of the more improved individuals.
Good job, Christian. Good job, Memphis.
So Christian Jensen, the junior for Temple, along with Harry Powell and Zach Seeger.
Good job, Memphis.
Look, Temple came into this number 3 in the region. They knew Tulsa, though, at number 6 in the country was the measuring stick. They were excited about today, measuring themselves up against the Golden Hurricane. Looking for a top 2 finish today.
Go get some people, Clay.
Great story with Temple, of course, with Seeger and Lapsansky. Former rivals in high school, now best friends, roommates in Philadelphia.
Nice relax shoulder. Real good, buddy. Nice relax. Fast arms, Bradley. Fast arms. Swing the ears. Peter, go down, go find people.
Lincoln, interesting, as you just mentioned, Aaron Benefeld just came by about a minute ago at 14 and a half. He's got about a 25-second lead on the remainder of the field, and on September 21st, he ran out here at the Rhodes College 8K here at Shelby Farms. He did it in 24:10.10, and right now on that split, 2 loops down, he's ahead of that pace, and not on a firm course that he had a few weeks ago. So even with some wet portions of this course, the footing not there with all the rain, he's ahead of beating his 24:10 that he set here on September 21st.
Yeah, we've certainly seen some of the tougher conditions on various points of this course so far. And you imagine that mud will just get even more challenging to deal with the more laps that we see, Jeff. As it'll be interesting to see if Aaron can maintain that lead or if the rest of this pack, including all of those Tulsa runners, will start to close the margin.
Well, Tulsa ran in that race, as you mentioned, and Scott Beatty was one of the better guys. He finished second place in that race out here. He had a time of 24:21, so he was about 11 or 12 seconds behind Benefeld. We'll see if he can close the gap, but 25 seconds is a lot to close on that final loop.
Yeah, Beatty already has silver from last year. Another look at this course for the men. We'll see the women out here soon enough in about 30 minutes. You've already seen and heard from them here early on, cheering on some of their teammates in the men's race. All in all, a great setting for this championship here at Shelby Farms Park. Appreciate all the hospitality from...
Well, it's a beautiful park, Lincoln.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Beautiful park, as we mentioned, just to give you an overview of this course that these athletes are running. 4,500 acre park here on the edge of East Memphis. More than 40 miles of trails, paved and unpaved. a lot of wildlife. In fact, about an hour and a half before the race, we saw about a half dozen to 8 deer right off these thickets running through. It's also the home of a bison herd on this 56-acre of pasture land that the former Shelby County Mayor Bill Morris brought to Memphis. They've up to about 45, so a lot of different stuff here. It's gone through some massive renovations over the last 5 years, and as you mentioned, just a really nice course for these athletes to run.
Again, these will be our first champions crowned in the American Athletic Conference. Men's and women's cross-country champions, both individual and team titles on the line today. It is the worst kept secret, though, coming into the race of who our leader may very well be as they cross the finish line individually. As Aaron Benenfield continues to put up impressive times. Your lead runner for Cincinnati is your lead runner in today's championship race. It's a Cincinnati team that has finished on the men's side in the top 3 on 3 occasions, but not since 2016. In fact, they finished in the top 2 in 2013 and 2014. The question will be where the next 4 Bearcats finish. But Benenfeld continues to knock off a lot of the top marks for this program's history. Trying to set the standard this morning. We've seen Joshua Spare in second place behind Benenfeld much of the early part of this race, but you see nobody nipping at his heels. And at the moment, the only thing that could derail Aaron is taking a wrong turn. See, coming around the pond right now.
Coming around that pond, you got a little hard pan, a little more area through the woods here, but you're on firm ground now. It should be a cruising speed here for Benenfield to finish this thing out. For the rest of the runners, though, Lincoln, on the last loop, it comes down to 1 foot in front of the other, and how much can you outsuffer the other runner here on the home stretch. For Benenfield, like I said, he'll cruise, but for everyone else, it's just a matter of can you put your head down and grind for this final half mile.
Yeah, you'll see just how much they empty their tanks as they cross that finish line and collapse into the arms of their coaches. Benenfield still pushing strong. And barring some unforeseen circumstance, Aaron Benenfield is going to be your 2019 men's individual champion.
She's like, no, you're not.
Yeah.
Sorry. No, you're good. Don't worry about it.
And as the pack comes through, you can even hear the more solid conditions under their feet. Look there for Temple at Anton Harson. And the Owls looking for a top 2 finish today. From the host school, Memphis, you saw Zachary Wyatt, the sophomore. That's the difference right now between number 1 and number 2. But that's probably going to be your headline right there. All 5 of Tulsa's lead runners together. Aaron Benefield will cross the finish line first. He is your 2019 individual men's champion, bringing those honors to Cincinnati. But the rain will continue for Tulsa. Temple with a strong push as well. And actually, there may be a little more drama involved than we thought here.
Come on, Zach. You got it. Downhill run.
The lead 5 from the Golden Hurricane come through. That will keep the math simple. And for Temple, they have 3 in.
You gotta go, E! You gotta go, E! You got one, E! Coming! Go, E!
And the Owls will once again capture second behind the Golden Hurricane.
Downhill, Jed, go, go! Go, go,
The math will be a little more
2
complicated
impressive
for a
performances there, Lincoln, as you mentioned. Benefield about a 32-second unofficial win there here at the finish line, and impressive by Tulsa to get all 5 of those guys grouped in there.
Go, Josh! Downhill! 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 Open it up! Watch the face! Open up! Open up! Come on, Sixer! You gotta go! You gotta go, Sixer! Get your one! Sixer!
And we'll have our award ceremony for the men after the women's race.
Come on, go! Hold him off! Downhill kick! Go! Let's go, Alex! Come on, Neely! You got a piece of people! Let's go! Good job, man! Good job!
Well, Aaron Benefield set the standard early in this race, was able to maintain that advantage. Tulsa accomplished exactly what they wanted. As Isaac Akers, Scott Beatty,
You're totally fine, don't worry.
Patty Deaver, Cameron Field, Peter Lynch, all running together and finishing together for the team title. That's now 9 straight conference titles for Tulsa, including every year since joining the American, since its inception. And Aaron looks like he could squeeze in another kilometer or 2. We'll have a chance to chat with Aaron in a little bit. In the women's race coming up in about 20 minutes here on the American Digital Network. Tulsa will take the team title. Another nice showing by Temple. As they used Tulsa as a measuring stick, Owls came in right behind them with their pack for a second place finish once again.
Quick on! Close that gap!
You just have to appreciate the consistency that they have up there in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And then the individual story that is Benefield. With everybody knowing almost how high those expectations are and living up and arguably exceeding those expectations with a very impressive showing today here in Memphis. Reminder, you can continue to follow our racers throughout the year on American XC Track on Twitter, American Cross Country and Track Twitter account for the conference. Today, the men and women for the cross country championships, and back to the indoor titles this winter. And a little bit warmer conditions when we have the outdoor track titles. Let's check in with Jeff, who's about the only man able to catch up with our leader today.
Aaron Benefeld joined us now, the winner in the men's division. And Aaron, you've run this course a little over a month ago. And actually, I believe off the top of my head, think you actually beat your time from September 21st. Some challenges here today, but it looked like the course held up fairly well.
It did, honestly. I was kind of thinking I was in shape to run a PR because my PR is from last year. I ran that on a really fast course last year. I knew the course was muddy. We ran it yesterday. But considering how much we trained, like we've been putting work every single day, I was confident I could run faster. I didn't expect 30 seconds, to be honest, but I knew I had more in the bag than what I did last month.
Strategy coming in today, you guys knew the conditions once you came in with a little bit of rain over here the last few days. Was it a plan just to get out so you didn't have to get back into the pack today, especially in that backstretch?
Yeah, that was pretty much it. I was kind of afraid to be in the pack by the end of the race. I know I don't have a bad kick, but you always risk something if you choose to be in a pack. And I knew I have the endurance. I knew I'm capable of running fast for a long time. So I was like, why just not go for it? There hasn't been a single race in my life where I really blew up. So even if I blew up, I was thinking I might have enough of a gap to just maintain that and save it kind of. And it worked out perfectly.
How much did it help to be familiar with this course since you ran it back in September?
It certainly did. I don't think it's too much of a difference sometimes, but I certainly like to know okay, where are the parts of the course that might be a little muddy? Where do I have to slow down? How do I have to save my energy for the steeper parts of the course? Where can I get rolling? I think overall it was really helpful to know the course.
You've got more races to go this year once you get to regionals and nationals, but how special is it to take home a championship?
Really special because I got third last year. I was a little disappointed because I lost the runner-up title, so to say, on the last quarter of the, if I remember correctly. So winning this title, especially by this much, was something very special to me. Yeah, looking forward to the next races. I'm really looking forward to racing regionals because I know I'm going to have the competition I'm seeking right now. I haven't qualified for nationals yet, so I don't want to be too confident when it comes to that. But I'm sure I have what it takes to qualify. Pretty sure.
Well, congratulations! I know everyone at Cincinnati is very proud of you.
Thank you very much.
It's Aaron Benefeld, the winner of the individual race. Back to you, Lincoln.
Jeff, thank you. The pride of Frankfurt, Germany, and of course the senior Bearcat, Aaron Benefeld, is your 2019 individual men's cross-country champion. Tulsa again takes the team title. We'll have more when we come back here on the American Digital Network.
Undeniable. Undeniable.
I'm Kate Leahy, and this is my story. I love that TU is part of Tulsa, and that we're not stuck on campus. I'm in all sorts of organizations, and I've studied abroad, twice. At TU, I'm involved in whatever I want to be. I've learned that it's okay to change paths because my life is an amazing book and I'm still writing it, chapter by chapter. And that's my story so far.
Take a look at the University of Memphis. You'll see a diverse and inclusive campus, a focus on innovation, a culture not just about education, but action. Then look closer. You'll see that the University of Memphis has one of the nation's top internship programs, where you get real-world experience with global companies and leading research hospitals. Because an internship should be the catalyst into a lifetime of career highlights. See yourself exploring, creating, doing at the University of Memphis.
There's a lot to do out there. You can either talk about it, or you can do something about it. At ECU, we choose to do things. And we can help you do just about anything. Come here to keep hometowns thriving, hearts beating, or make waves across the world. Wherever you're headed, this ship can get you there. With 30,000 of us doing so much, you won't find anyone sitting around. You ready?
At SMU, I found professors who care about my success.
And the space to take risks.
Make mistakes and grow quickly.
These experiences are helping me chart my own course.
Dallas's can-do culture and SMU support bring out the best in me.
We are creators, innovators,
disruptors, builders,
And problem solvers shaping the future.
If we think it,
It gets done.
That's the enterprising spirit of SMU.
come reimagine the world with us.
No matter where Tulanians go or what we're doing, we're making an impact. Over 160,000 Tulanians making a difference at home and around the world.
When we say charge on, we commit to do extraordinary things, to put in the work, to be smarter and stronger, to let them know we're coming. Charge on! Charge on!
We don't just predict the future, we shape it. Because as a preeminent research university, we don't focus on what should be, we focus on what could be.
How do you drive impact for 200 years? By doing it boldly. By building a bridge, breaking a barrier, planting a flag, owning a stage. Because here, we learn by doing and believe the status quo was built to be broken. So be proud, be bold, be Cincinnati. We're 2 centuries in, and we're still creating what's next. We are Boldly Bearcat.
This is a classroom.
This is a lab.
This is a study break.
This is our backyard.
This is home.
This is Yukon.
Discovery. It can come from any direction, in places new and familiar, but often starts from within.
Big changes are on the way.
Maddie scores!
3 strikeouts in a row.
Dominance for a 4th straight year. Hueso from 30!
Unbelievable.
And be able to celebrate this type of championship.
There's the record breaker. They are the champions of the American.
Well, you see the Pirate women just about ready to go. Reminder, their race will get going in about 8 minutes. We'll give you the official finish for the men, both as a team and the individuals. But for those of you waiting on the edge of your seat, again, Tulsa, your team champions. Temple finished second as a group. Connecticut finished third. Cincinnati in fourth as a group. Tulsa's 5 runners, again, almost finished simultaneously. Beatty is your runner-up this year to Benenfeld, with Akers, Lynch, Deaver, and Field rounding out the pack as Tulsa took the 2nd through 6th place finishes to claim that team title. Again, we'll get you a graphic up here in just a moment. We will mention that Ben Flowers for Wichita State and Eric Vanderels for UConn finishing 7th and 8th. But again, the women's race is coming up next here. And the question is, can Wichita State repeat their showing last year? They do return their individual champion, and Koski from last year. You'll recognize the course here at Shelby Farms Park. Maybe a tad muddier after the men have already gone through for their 8K race. But the women's 6K will be coming up soon enough in about 7 minutes. Lincoln Rose, Jeff Brightwell with you here on the American Digital Network. And again, a lot of great stories on the women's side. 12 schools competing. And this team title is certainly up for grabs. Wichita State ready to defend both their team title and individual titles. And I want to send it back to Jeff, who had that great chat with Aaron the German. And what I hope everybody appreciated was he was fresh off a dominating 8K and didn't even seem winded during his conversation with you.
No, he didn't at all. Like you said on the broadcast, when the rest of the individuals and the teams were finishing up, probably could have knocked out another kilometer or two out there. It's funny, yesterday I went through the course. I don't know if you'd call it run it, maybe kind of jogged and walked it. Kevin Robinson, the Memphis coach, came up and said, you're no cross-country runner. I was in warm-up pants and a sweatshirt, and these guys and these ladies are out here in the tank tops and the shorts. But interesting, because he ran that course back on September 21st. We'll see in the women's division how they attack this course, not the conditions that some of the teams faced in September. But as you mentioned, it didn't seem to bother Aaron. In fact, he beat his course record that he set here, even with some muddy conditions. The back stretch is not very bad. It's pretty firm. You get some hard pan around the lake, up through the woods. It's that second loop when you hit that long stretch down Mullen Station Road here, which crosses past Shelby Farms, it'll get a little bit sloppy. But as you mentioned, Aaron's looked like he could have maybe done a half marathon today.
We saw the women warming up earlier. You have to imagine they were taking notice on how the course ran for these men and took in some last-second notes as, again, they're about to get underway in about 5 minutes.
It's going to pay to be ahead in the pack. If they watched Aaron and some of the other runners, especially the Tulsa runners as a team, get ahead of the pack. Don't get caught today. If it was very, very hard course, it wouldn't be a big deal, but you don't want to get caught in any of the muddy areas if you're in a pack.
And another look here at the 6-kilometer course, altered from the 8K that we just saw for the men. And as Jeff mentioned, you see that stretch along Mullen Station Road. That was that straightaway that could get a little sloppy, a little downhill, so had to control your own pace while going through or around that mud. And then, of course, the more scenic finish once they make that turn around the trees and along the pond. 40 degrees when we got started this morning. Has not warmed up much, but the sun being out has made a big difference in how pleasant things are. Appreciate all the volunteers and judges.
You're right, Lincoln. It's much more pleasant now. If you're in a sunny area out here, it feels about 15 degrees difference if you're in the sun.
As you see again, just a great backdrop for this year's championship. Memphis, our host. Erin Benenfield was the first man to cross that line. Who will be the first woman be? We mentioned we do return our champion from last year. Winnie Koski is back, and of course one of the stories this year was perhaps one of her biggest rivals from track and cross country is not in the race. Hannah Miller from SMU redshirting this year. One of a couple of runners absent for the SMU women this season for the Mustangs, along with Charlotte Tara Murphy. And so the question is, who will push Koski today? And those two have had some classic battles, especially indoor and outdoor track. Wichita State, your defending team champions as well, as the women are underway this morning in Memphis in pursuit of that 2019 American Championship. Great to have you with us this morning here on the American Digital Network. Again, this is the first championship event for the conference each fall. Cross country followed by soccer for women and men, volleyball, as well as football. Of course, we learned last night Memphis will also be hosting the women's soccer championship. They could very well be hosting the men's soccer as well, as this could become championship city here in the American Athletic Conference this fall. Well, again, Wichita State, your defending champs, would finish 7th in the pre-nationals, won their JK Gold Classic. Talking about Winnie Koski, the All-American last year, finishing 7th in pre-nationals, winning that classic. And she's got a good one. Perhaps her own teammate Rebecca Topham will push her this year. Topham, who finished 3rd in last year's championship. Remember last year with those muddy conditions, it reminded us that Topham, steeplechase competitor, welcomed running in those soggy shoes. And it's a special year for Rebecca. Her cousin Erin is a freshman running for Wichita State this year as well. All this for Coach Hunter and the Shockers. These are your final numbers for the men's. Erin Benenfield didn't need a fast track today to break 24 seconds. And then you see Tulsa, 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 Tulsa. 2 through 6, very little separation, great consistency. Ben Flowers of Wichita State grabbing 7th. You see Vanderels and Gleason rounding out things there on your screen. A women's championship underway here in Memphis. We saw Temple men finish second. Temple women with high expectations today after finishing third last year for Coach James Snyder. One of the obstacles for the Owls this year, though, one of their top runners, Lucy Jones, returned back home to England. But freshman Kat Shantz has certainly helped step up and made some strong showings this year to keep them competitive. That's a group for Coach Snyder that for them to have a strong showing, he points out everybody's going to need to match their potential, if not exceed it today. Not as deep of a group as they've been in the past, but they're front runners as talented as ever. Mentioned SMU, no Hannah Miller this year. She would have been near the front of that pack. See Winnie Koski working her way towards the front. Your defending individual champion from last year in New Orleans. ECU women have their sights set on that team title, despite losing Anna Bristol and Laura Green to injuries this year. They'll get it done like Tulsa did as a pack with no lead individual, but great parity in their top 5, arguably even top 6. Mention ECU, just like their men, have had 3 different #1 runners this year. And as much as we talked about the Tulsa men, how about those women for the Golden Hurricane? Likely a top 3 finish as well this year for Steve Goley's women. They're your 3-time champions on the women's side. 2013, 2014, and then finally 2015, their last title. As you see our lead camera crew go through. A lot more suspense here in the women's race early on. See Aaron Topham, the younger of the cousins for Wichita State, coming through your screen. For Houston, Claudia Santos and a pair of Mustangs. Five and a half minutes in here to the women's championship. And no separation to speak of within that lead pack. Great parity here in the conference this year. It'll come down to who still has a little left in that tank for a late push. See some familiar faces towards the front. UConn with a very strong showing. Randy Burr, Danielle Jordan, Mia Nahom among the leaders. And there you see the familiar look of those blue shirts for Tulsa all packed together, with last year's individual champion nestled among them as well. As Koski at the moment is letting Ginny O'Brien do the work as she drafts one of the top 2 runners for Tulsa this year, O'Brien the junior. And you really tip your hat to Steve Goley, 19 years at the helm of Tulsa. He's built one of the top programs regionally and nationally. We saw his men capture yet another title. And this is what happened on the men's side. That's
Lincoln, here comes the difference. Here comes the difference in the women's race real quick down Mullen Station Road, Lincoln. The women will only have to make this straightaway one time, where the men had to do 3 loops down this straightaway. It's about 800 meters, about 1,000, and this is a lower lying area where you're going to see where the rain had collected. It's going to get a little sloppy. They're only going to have to go through this thicket one time today. I'd imagine you're going to see the pack stay together until you get out of the thicket and they get back into the woods, and that's when the ground becomes a little more firm. I think that's where you're going to see that final separation.
Yeah, excellent point, Jeff. That is where you could otherwise see a misstep, and you would be at the mercy of those around you. See most of them trying to stay on the higher ground. And again, another look at the top 5 finish on the men's side. Tulsa has claimed every title since the inception of the American in the men's race. Temple, another top 2 showing. UConn, Cincinnati with the individual champion Benenfeld out of Germany. And then Wichita State rounding out the top 5. That was earlier this morning. That got started at 10 a.m. Central Time. About 8.5 minutes ago, we got the women's race underway. And we anticipate a little more drama here in our second race. Reminder, you can follow American Cross Country on Twitter. This is where you negotiate coming downhill. Don't want to build up too much confidence with that mud right around the turn. Winnie Koski among your leaders. UConn and Tulsa both clumped in there as well. In second race this morning here at Shelby Farms Park. Men's 8K earlier as Koski trying to start to pull out ahead. A couple of other women with other ideas here. As much as we talk about Winnie Koski, I know Coach Kirk Hunter really pleased with what Hallie Johnson has done. Stepping up as Wichita State's number 5 runner at the Bill Dellinger Invitational and at pre-nationals. As a result, he expects his 3 through 5 runners to finish close together, not far off of Koski and Topham. Really only as strong as that number 5. But there is a good look at your number 1 and your number 2. Koski and Topham, they finished first and third last year with a Mustang sandwiched in between. Right now it appears to be a Golden Hurricane among them. As Caitlin Klopfer has been your lead runner much of the way for Tulsa, along with Jenny O'Brien. That's more about my pace. Winnie Koski's lead starts to grow here now, 12.5 minutes in. She has found success outdoors in cross country. Of course, Wichita State hosted outdoor track and field last spring. Found success in Birmingham as well during the indoor track championships. And that's a great look there. 3 different layers of runners. As they negotiate the terrain this morning here in Memphis at Shelby Farms Park. And rest assured, Winnie Koski still out ahead. See if you can spot her. Getting the Aaron Benenfield treatment at the moment. And the question is, who will claim second place, it appears. Topham, we mentioned her teammate last year finished 3rd. Can she improve upon that today here in Memphis after 2 shockers finished in the top 3 last year in New Orleans? And after our first 3 runners, here's the rest of the pack. You see your 3rd shocker mixed in. Will it be enough for a team title for Wichita State? It was last year. In your newest members of the American. Well, deja vu here in 2019. With SMU's Miller redshirting this year. Now the question was, would anybody push Winnie? And right now, she's pushing herself. We're still right around 40, 41 degrees this morning in Memphis. Again, clear skies, sun is out. It is championship weather.
You know, Lincoln, you mentioned that weather, and I think the way that the course set up this weekend actually ended up being pretty good. I mean, you had the rain come through. There's a few soft spots here, but the weather's great today. There's enough firm areas to race out here. You want to challenge the athletes with different varying conditions in a cross-country race, and I think that's exactly what we got out of this Shelby Farms Park.
Yeah, it's really held up nicely. It's been a great stage for these 2 races this morning. And the best way to judge really is just looking at the spectators, how comfortable they are watching. And everybody seems nicely settled in full voice, rooting for their student athletes. And Winnie Koski right now enjoying her greatest separation of the race. There's your leader. Again with Koski and Topham. Winnie just a junior. We could be talking about 3 straight years. And the question is, who will round out the top 5? You figure Sullivan and Wright will be in there for Wichita State. It'll be Schnacker or Johnson, the junior or the sophomore. That would help claim a title again for Wichita State. You see Topham in third. That's Caitlin Klopfer, of course, your top runner for Tulsa, sandwiched in between the two Shockers. No surprise, Temple, Tulsa, and Bearcats and Huskies sprinkled in. Your third runner for Wichita State is Yasmin Wright. As Haley Johnson, the sophomore, your fourth runner for the Shockers. Saw for Houston there. Schneider going through, and now her teammate, Sorensen. Everybody trailing, though, Winnie Koski, last year's champion. Topham trying to make a push for second. Right now, that belongs to Caitlin Klopfer of Tulsa, as they now are side by side. Winnie Koski, for a second straight year, is your champion here in the American. Can her teammates help secure another team title for the Shockers? Topham will finish second, and the first non-Shocker finish will be Caitlin Klopfer in third, as those two great distance runners, both on the track and here in the cross-country event, your first two finishers, 1 and 2. And a familiar sight as Rebecca Topham had emptied the tank. It's going to be a much more dramatic team finish, though. We have either 3 or 4 Tulsa runners in. 3 Shockers are home. Temple will certainly factor in as well. We will leave this to the judges as to the team results. 4 Shockers have come through. It may very well be Tulsa reclaiming a title for the first time since 2015. Temple in the mix as well. And we will have the awards ceremony for both the men and the women to follow this women's race. A lot of parity here in the American on the women's side. A great race. Again, Koski and Topham finished 1 and 2 for the Shockers. For Tulsa, Caitlin Klopfer among the leaders the entire time, will take 3rd individually. And Winnie Koski now surrounded by her teammates, trying to push for back-to-back team titles. Well, what we do know is Memphis has been a fantastic host this morning. Mentioned we will be back here for women's soccer this next week and possibly men's soccer the following week as those teams start to lock up the top seeds in their tournaments. Men's race went to Tulsa. Aaron Benenfield for Cincinnati, the individual champion. His counterpart on the women's side there, Winnie Koski with the leopard print headband. As some of her teammates get rehydrated. Did the Shockers do enough to claim their 2nd straight title here in the American? They took it last year in New Orleans. We will have it all sorted out when you rejoin us here on the American Digital Network. Team honors and individuals recognized with the awards ceremony here in Memphis.
Undeniable. Undeniable.
I'm Kate Leahy, and this is my story. I love that TU is part of Tulsa, and that we're not stuck on campus. I'm in all sorts of organizations, and I've studied abroad, twice. At TU, I'm involved in whatever I want to be. I've learned that it's okay to change paths, because my life is an amazing book, and I'm still writing it, chapter by chapter. And that's my story, so far.
Take a look at the University of Memphis. You'll see a diverse and inclusive campus, a focus on innovation, a culture not just about education, but action. Then look closer. you'll see that the University of Memphis has one of the nation's top internship programs, where you get real-world experience with global companies and leading research hospitals. Because an internship should be the catalyst into a lifetime of career highlights. See yourself exploring, creating, doing at the University of Memphis.
There's a lot to do out there. You can either talk about it, or you can do something about it. At ECU, we choose to do things. And we can help you do just about anything. Come here to keep hometowns thriving, hearts beating, or make waves across the world. Wherever you're headed, this ship can get you there. With 30,000 of us doing so much, you won't find anyone sitting around. You ready?
At SMU, I found professors who care about my success.
And the space to take risks.
Make mistakes and grow quickly.
These experiences are helping me chart my own course.
Dallas's can-do culture and SMU support bring out the best in me.
We are creators, innovators,
disruptors, builders,
And problem solvers shaping the future.
If we think it,
It gets done.
That's the enterprising spirit of SMU.
come reimagine the world with us.
No matter where Tulanians go or what we're doing, we're making an impact. Over 160,000 Tulanians making a difference at home and around the world.
When we say charge on, we commit to do extraordinary things, to put in the work, to be smarter and stronger, to let them know we're coming. Charge on! Charge on!
We don't just predict the future, we shape it. Because as a preeminent research university, we don't focus on what should be, we focus on what could be.
How do you drive impact for 200 years? By doing it boldly. By building a bridge, breaking a barrier, planting a flag, owning a stage. Because here, we learn by doing and believe the status quo was built to be broken. So be proud, be bold, be Cincinnati. We're 2 centuries in, and we're still creating what's next. We are Boldly Bearcat.
This is a classroom. This is a lab.
This is a study break.
This is our backyard.
This is home.
This is UConn.
Discovery. It can come from any direction, in places new and familiar, but often starts from within.
Big changes are on the way.
Purdy scores!
3 strikeouts in a row.
Dominance for a 4th straight year.
Cueto from 30!
Unbelievable. And be able to celebrate this type of championship.
There's the record breaker. They are the champions of the Americans.
Our coverage continues this morning from Memphis of the American Men's and Women's Cross Country Championships. We do now have the results for both the women and, of course, the men. Earlier, Aaron Benenfield, your new individual champion, second straight year that of Tulsa. Scott Beatty finishes second as he and his teammates take 2 through 6 for Tulsa to claim the team title. As we'll show you the top finishers with Tulsa leading the way. They've now won again every year in the American. Temple again finishes second. A great showing. UConn in third. Cincinnati fourth. Wichita State in fifth. So now what you've been waiting for after Winnie Koski, again, teammate Rebecca Topham, who finished third last year, takes second this year. Caitlin Klopfer, tell me if this sounds familiar. She leads a pack of Golden Hurricane. Tulsa is going to take the team title. Caitlin finished third. Ashley Barnes, Jenny O'Brien, Reagan Hausman, all for Tulsa. Caroline Miller as well. All 5 top Tulsa runners finish in the top 10. That gives Tulsa the team title. Wichita State last year, after claiming the top spot, will finish in second with Yasmin Wright, Hallie Johnson, and Sullivan rounding out your top 5 runners finishing in the top 30. Temple, UConn, and Cincinnati round out your top 5. In a moment, we will have the individual and team trophies awarded here in Memphis. Big thanks to our entire crew. Again, nice chilly 40-degree temperatures today, but the sun was out. We have an individual title for the women and a team title for the men successfully defended. But Tulsa now, for a 4th time in its history, sweeps the men's and women's titles. For the Tulsa women, it's the first time since 2015 when they completed a three-peat that they will reign over this conference. We will have, again, that awards ceremony pending here in just a moment here on the American Digital Network.
Adam Walker. He's the Senior Associate Athletics Director from the University of Memphis, and he will be ably accompanied by Jordan Reed. She's the Assistant Director of Sport Administration and championships from the American Athletic Conference. The AAC would like to thank the University of Memphis for their attention and dedication to the successful staging of this championships. We'd especially like to thank Championship Director Adam Mendes, the Director of Events and Facilities from the University of Memphis, and Assistant Championship Director Matt Goudreau from the University of Memphis, and all of the University of Memphis athletic staff, members, officials, and volunteers for their assistance in the production of this championships. So at this time, we'd like to recognize the women's individual winners. So these are the all-conference runners. We'll start in 15th place and go down to first for dramatic effect. So, without further ado, in 15th place, with a time of 21:05 from Cincinnati, so from Temple, was Michelle Joyce. In 14th place, from Cincinnati, in a time of 21:05, was Hannah Markle. In 13th place, from Wichita State, in a time of 21:02, was Yasmin Wright. In 12th place, from University of Tulsa, in a time of 21:01, was Katerina Pesendorfer. In 11th place, in a time of 21:01, from University of Cincinnati, was Caroline Miller. I'm sorry, did I say University of Cincinnati? It should be Tulsa. My bad. Sorry, Caroline. In 9th place, from University of Tulsa, in a time of 20:57, was Reagan Hausman. Oh, I'm sorry. In 11th place, I missed one, from University of Cincinnati, in a time of 21:01, was Ellie Leather. I'm sorry, Ellie. Come on down. All right, now we're back on track. So in 8th place, in a time of 20:55, from University of Tulsa, was Jenny O'Brien. In 7th place, from University of Tulsa, in a time of 20:54, was Ashley Barnes. In 6th place, from Temple, in a time of 20:48, was Grace Moore. In 5th place, from Cincinnati, in a time of 20:46, was Lauren Kemper. In 4th place, in a time of 20:45, from University of Connecticut, was Mia Nahom. In 3rd place, from Tulsa, in a time of 20:34, Caitlin Klopfer. And your second place runner in a time of 20:28 from Wichita State. Please welcome Rebecca Topham. And now put your hands together for our repeat conference champion from Wichita State and time of 2014, Winnie Koski.
Your all-conference performers in the American, Winnie Koski repeating as your champion. Rebecca Topham improving from third last year to second place, her teammate this year. But it was Tulsa, just like on the men's side that we'll see in a moment, with that pack finish right behind them to take the team title away from Wichita State, who won it a year ago. As Tulsa will sweep the titles on the women's and men's sides for a fourth time
And now
program
for the
history.
championship trophy presentation. Congratulations to this year's American women's cross-country team champion with a team score of just 37 points. Would the team captains from Tulsa please come up to the stage?
Tulsa won its first American championship in 2013. They would win 3 straight, 13, 14, and 2015. A drought since then. But they are back on top of the American here in 2019. Caitlin Klopfer led the way, finishing third. You had Barnes, O'Brien, and Hausman, along with Miller, all in the top 10. Tulsa also finished in 12th and 20th, but would not need those scores. Congratulations to Steve Gully's women.
All right, our women's team runner-up, second place, with a team score of 63 points. Would the team captains from Wichita State please come up to the stage?
Last year's champions, this year's runners-up, headlined by Winnie Koski and Rebecca Topham's top 2 finishes. Yasmin Wright would finish 13th, Hallie Johnson 17th. The final score would be the Sullivan in 30th. A combined score of 63.
I'll just reread the team scores for you. So in 12th place was Tulane with 306. 11th was UCF with 285. 10th was USF, 278. 9th was SMU with 250. 8th was Houston, 225. 7th was Memphis, 207. 6th was East Carolina with 189 points. 5th was Cincinnati, 106. 4th was Connecticut with 100. 3rd was Temple with 83. Wichita State was 2nd with 63. And, of course, Tulsa was our winner with 37 points. So that was the team scores for the women's race. All right, now to honor the 2019 American Women's Cross Country Freshman of the Year Award, which goes to the top finishing freshman in the women's 6K race. So finishing in 12th place with a time of 21:01 from Tulsa and Austria. Please welcome Katharina Pesendorfer.
Katharina finished 12th. That would just be the 6th best finish for a Tulsa runner. Usually any school would be thrilled to factor those 12 points in. Katharina, your top freshman this year here in Memphis. On behalf of Tulsa, your American champions.
All right. Now to honor the 2019 American Women's Cross Country Staff of the Year, whose squad claimed the women's title, please welcome Mr. Steve Gully, the coach of University of Tulsa, and his staff. Come on down. So congratulations to the entire Golden Hurricane staff. Here they come, led by Steve.
Gully mentioned they'll be back. They sure will. His men's team also winning.
All right, next we'll move on to the men. So we'll recognize the top 15 individuals. These are the all-conference runners. As I call your name, would you please come forward to accept your award? Finishing in 15th place from Tulsa in a time of 24:37. Please welcome Adam Bro. Placing 14th from Connecticut in a time of 24:32 was William Brisman. Placing 13th from East Carolina in a time of 24:30, Joshua Spare. Placing 12th in a time of 24:30, representing Temple University, Kevin Lepsansky. Placing 11th, with just 1 second ahead of his teammate, in a time of 24:29, was Zach Seeger from Temple. Placing 10th, also from Temple, in a time of 24:28. Please welcome Harry Powell. Placing 9th for the Tigers of University of Memphis, clocking 24:27. Come on down, Peyton Gleason. Placing 8th from Connecticut in a time of 24:25. This is Eric Vander Elf. Placing 7th from Wichita State in a time of 24:17 was Ben Flowers. Placing 6th from Tulsa in a time of 24:13. This is Cameron Field. Placing 5th, 1 second ahead in 24:12, also from Tulsa, Patrick Diva. Placing 4th in the same time, 24:12, from the University of Tulsa. This is Peter Lynch. Placing third in 24-12, also from University of Tulsa. This is Isaac Akers. Placing second from University of Tulsa in a time of 24-12 was Scott Beatty. So he's your individual conference runner-up. And the 2019 American Men's Cross Country Individual Champion with a time of 23:43. He led the entire race. This is Aaron Bienenfeld from Cincinnati. And that, I believe, is a new course record here also.
Well, that front row, 5 of your top 6 finishers, basically a team photo for Tulsa. Scott Beatty led the way for the Golden Hurricane. He takes second place once again. Aaron Bienenfeld, a dominating performance, finishes first. But look at those times for Tulsa, who not only take spots 2 through 6, but Adam Bro finishes 15th.
So in 10th
they
place
take
with a score of
16th as well.
287 was University of South Florida. In 9th with 256 was Tulane. In 8th with a score of 192 was Houston. In 7th place with 169 was our host, University of Memphis. In 6th with 154 was East Carolina University. In 5th place with 118 was Wichita State. In 4th with 116 was Cincinnati. In 3rd place with 110 points was Connecticut. And our runner-up team with a score of 68 points was Temple. Please come up.
Tulsa take that top spot with 20 points. Mind you, all of 25 seconds separated Scott Beatty, your top Golden Hurricane, with the 7th Golden Hurricane to cross. You only need those top 5 scores for that 20-point showing today. Temple finishes second with 68 points. Harry Powell leading the way with the time of 24:29. Zach Seeger would take 11th. Owls will take 12th as well, with Lapsansky's showing.
And now for the championship trophy presentation. Congratulations to this year's American Athletic Conference Men's Cross Country Team Champion with a team score of 22, which is a conference record, and a 1 through 5 spread of 1.28 seconds, which I think is the tightest spread known to mankind. With the team captains from University of Tulsa, please come up to accept their award.
Mentioned their top 7 runners finished with a
So
spread
there's repeating 20 points and a 1.28
of
seconds
25 seconds. Their top 5 runners, even tighter, as you just heard mentioned, less than 2 seconds separating them. Truly a team finish for Tulsa.
So congratulations to the Golden Hurricane. This is the first time that a team has swept both the men's and women's team title. And in fact, they were the last people to do it in 2015.
As we'll have a chance to hear from Steve Goley, head coach of both the women's and the men's champions this year. And the women won that first title in the American, continuing their run from Conference USA. They had won conference titles from 13 through 15 again here in 19.
Cross Country Freshman of the Year award, which goes to the top finishing freshman in the AK race, finishing in 25th place in a time of 25:08, representing Cincinnati, was Tyler Worth. He is your Freshman of the Year. Tyler here.
So both your top individual and your top individual freshman are Bearcats this year. For Coach Sam
And to conclude
Burrows.
this award ceremony, let's recognize the 2019 American Men's Cross Country Staff of the Year, whose squad claimed the men's team title. If we could have head coach Steve Gully come up to the stage again, along with his staff. Congratulations to the Golden Hurricane on sweeping the team titles.
It's 10 of the last 11 years that Tulsa's men have claimed to be conference champions, dating back to Conference USA. They've won every year since the inception of the American on the men's side. Again, all of it under the guidance
That is a wrap here
of
at
Coach
Shelby Farms.
Steve Gully.
Congratulations once again to all our competitors and coaches. And thank you to our spectators for supporting the American Athletic Conference cross country. Please have a safe trip home.
And the head man of both the men's and women's staffs of the year is now with our Jeff Brightwell.
Thanks a lot, Lincoln. Coach, it's got to be a very proud day here to take both team titles.
We feel very fortunate, really do. You know, it's always stressful. You have two genders, and you hope it goes well, or it's going to be a long ride home.
All right, let's talk about the course a little bit. Very good course out here, but some weather conditions, a little rain the last 2 days. Most of the course pretty firm, ran fairly well, dried out over the last 24 hours, a few little wet spots. Did you encourage your team to try to get out front so they didn't get in the pack, especially in maybe some more of the adverse areas?
No, I think the course was a great course, and I think Memphis did a great job considering everything that happened before it. So I think it made it a fair race. No, not as much. Position does help, and I think we did want to put ourselves in position because I think there were some teams that came in here pretty hot and had our attention, and I think that was the key on the men's side. On the women, we weren't sure because we had a different inner loop, and we didn't know how that was going to play out because nobody's raced on that when it was wet.
It had to be a pretty special moment when the men came in to finish, because you don't always get that photo opportunity, that video opportunity to have all five finishers come in right at the same spot.
Lucky. Yeah. You know, I'll be honest, that was truly lucky because there's some good people, and I think we were looking for some Temple guys to be up there. So, maybe I think it was just our day on the boys' side, yeah.
The women, too, outstanding, too. They all got 3rd through 10th, so they were all bunched up as front as well.
Yes. Now that race played out a little bit different. I think there was more individuals from other teams, so it's kind of hard to tell where you're at in the race. But they went in with a game plan, and I think they executed as good as we could do.
All right, you turn around now. You put this behind you. I'm sure it'll be a very happy day, very happy trip back to Tulsa. But I'm sure now you'll turn your focus forward.
Oh, just like everybody. I think we all got to respond from this and head into regionals. So it's great. I feel very fortunate. My team is happy today. But we still got work to do, just like anybody else, and we got to get our kids up again in 2 more weeks.
All right, congratulations, Coach.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
That's the story from Memphis. Back to you, Lincoln.
Jeff, thank you very much. What a day it was. It began when the men's race, a dominating performance from the German. For Cincinnati, Aaron Benenfield, your individual champ. Tulsa would claim the team title once again, and of course, for the women, it was the Kenyan for a second straight year. The junior Winnie Koski leading the way for Wichita State for the individual crown. But the Golden Hurricane back on top on the women's side as well. This day in Memphis belonged to Tulsa. A sweep of the titles in 2019 in the American men's and women's cross-country races. For Jeff Brightwell, I'm Lincoln Rose. Big thanks to our entire American Digital Network crew.